Hi, I'm Professor Stephanie, and in this video we're going to look at the composition of the pear image on the left. And I specifically want to talk about the elements and the principles of design. The elements in this particular image, and the elements to me mean the ingredients, just like a recipe. When you have different ingredients you put together, the elements are the ingredients that we use to create an image, and we're specifically looking at line, shape, and value. And then the principles are the words that we use and the way that we put the line, the shape, and the value together to get a pleasing image that is balanced, has contrast, which is adding interest, variety, which also adds interest, and then unity, which in other words is harmony, which adds a connectiveness, a cohesiveness, like unity brings the image together. So let's specifically look at this in reference to the pear. And starting with line, we have a variety of line because we have both linear lines going vertically and horizontally. We have lines that crisscross, so there's a variety of very linear lines, but then there's also the pear represents the curved lines, and the pear is the main subject. So for me, with the pear, I kept all the curved lines in the pear, and then everything else was very rectangular, very very square, so that there was contrast between the main subject, which is the pear, and the background, which I used for the shapes of the boxes. So we can also talk about shapes. I went right from line to shape. Very similar story. The shapes that are the main topic, the pear, are curvilinear. I'm very careful to keep curves happening. Notice a curved line. And then the background, which is a contrast, is squares and rectangles, and lines. The other element is value. If all of this was just line without any of the extra added background and value, it would be very simple. So the value, which is going from, we think about as going from light to dark, is adding interest. It's adding, because we actually have a variety. The pear, many of the pear shapes have no color at all. They're white, the background. And then we slowly add value where I have some dots here that's darker. This is a little bit darker there. The stems are very dark, so when we think of a gradation of light to dark, we went from white to pretty dark right there, maybe an 8 or 9. Let's say if there's 10 blocks of value. The letters, pears, are pretty dark. So we have some very just smaller dark areas. The proportion here is fairly small for the dark. We have mostly light areas. So specifically with the principles, balance is an important part of where you put both your negative and your positive shapes. And what I mean by where you put, the positive shapes are the pear in this particular image. So how the pear is placed on in each of these rectangular shapes is important. Some of the fun here to me is that some of the pear pops out of the shape itself that it looks like it's supposed to be in. That's adding a little, I call it cha-cha-cha, kind of some interest in that way. So the pears are positive and the rectangular shapes are the negative space. So the negative space is actually pretty important because it creates its own shape and is part of the story. So we want to be careful with what the negative space looks like. These two are particularly interesting because they have the positive space hits the bottom here and the negative space is only on the top. We have negative space all the way around except where the pear pops out there. So part of what we're also doing is having variety in some of how we're placing our positive and what our negative space looks like. That's adding interest. If each one of these shapes were just plopped in the middle there it wouldn't be very interesting. So we add interest with variety and then also with contrast. So we talked a little bit about that value of contrast from light to dark. We have line is both curve, which is our main topic, and then very linear, which is our background and our shapes that are both rectangular and then curvilinear with the pear. Now the unity to me is, which is, again, harmony, is that we have one subject, it's a pear, and it's parts of the pear. The letters are different, so that adds a little contrast there. The fact that the background, as I mentioned, uses rectilinear lines is helping bring unity. The repetition of line, I've used some sort of dots and little dots in here that also have been repeated, so we're repeating subjects, which is important. We have consistency. For example, all my letters look the same, kind of. This little S got a little cattywampus. So in this particular image, we're using our line, our shape, and value as elements. We keep it balanced by thinking about that negative and positive space. The other thing is this is a big rectangular shape. That's also giving some balance. We've got contrast, we've got lights and darks, we've got curved lines and straight lines. We have a variety of different ways that we put that together, and then there is unity in the whole. Thank you.